With the 15th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Indianapolis Colts select Laiatu Latu, defensive end, UCLA.
So it is Latu coming out of the green room. He is an Indianapolis Colt.
There is defense in the NFL.
And he is the first defensive player selected in the 2024 NFL Draft.
And DJ, think about his path. He was just now the first defensive player taken in this draft, and it was just a few years ago when he was at the University of Washington. He had to medically retire from the sport. It was a second chance to get to UCLA. Imagine the emotion that he's going through right now.
Remember what doctor cleared him? Peyton Manning's doctor, who cleared Peyton to come back and play in the NFL. And he wears 15, DJ. Jaylon Phillips wore 15 coming out and followed a similar path where he was medically not cleared and had to change schools, get cleared, and make it to the NFL.
We'll get to the football in just a second. I am so happy for this guy. He was on his way to being a firefighter. He was thinking football was in his past, not in his future. He got a second opportunity, and talk about making the most of it there at UCLA. 2 phenomenal years. Here he's the 15th pick in the NFL Draft. That is impressive that he stuck with it, that he put in the work, and I'm so pumped to see him rewarded, and that smile on his face is well-deserved.
I mean, the production in 2 years after he got down to UCLA was off the charts, guys. You could not keep him out of the backfield. He had 23.5 sacks, 34 tackles for loss. The guy was as productive as any edge rusher in college football.
And the most tools in the bag, right, DJ, in terms of the 3 top
He's got the most pitches
we talked about, right? He's the guy who can throw the changeup, throw the off speed, bring the fastball, and occasionally you see that bull rush when he had people off balance. So you saw a lot there. I do think there's a lot of that Jaylon Phillips in him.
Yeah.
The numbers, the body type, the path of getting here, and now he's in Indianapolis, and your guys were right. He's going to chase him.
You were talking about
Houston.
You were talking about the emotion while you guys were talking there. The commissioner showed Latu his name on the jersey for the first time, and he took a step back, put his hand over his mouth, like, oh gosh, like this is actually happening. That's a cool moment right there.
What a journey. Let's get to the video. Talked about him as a person and what he's overcome. How about the ability on the field? He's got the most diverse plan of attack, to what Charles was saying. Trey Hendrickson, a real natural feel as a rusher. That was a comparison. You watch him against UCLA, watch the hands. He is a hand technician. You give him your hands as a tackle, he's going to swipe them away, and he can bend at the top of his rush. Again, look at him run that loop. We do the loop at the combine. That is why you can replicate what you see there. Kick him inside, let him beat up on some of these guards, not a problem. Again, he went to the Senior Bowl. He competed throughout the entire process. Here he is winning inside. You overset, he's going to win. He's the most natural rusher in the draft. And I think at the end of the day, in a passing league, the most natural rusher is the first defensive player off the board.
Latu is an unbelievable rusher, and when we get to take a look at his XOs, you'll see what we're talking about.
Time for Best Value presented by Verizon, and that value goes to Chris Ballard in the Indianapolis Colts by taking the first defender, first edge rusher, and it's Laiatu Latu. Let's take a look here, Bucky, at what we love about Latu's game, kind of the details of that technician piece of it.
So we talk about having a bag. We talk about the bend and burst that he displays right there, the hand skills. You see it all from him. Dip and rip, swipe, up and under. He has all that. He can play outside and inside. There's an inside rusher being able to get home. We saw it in the Senior Bowl. Here we go, dip and rip, nonstop, relentless competitor. Love the stamina that he displays. This dude just is a nonstop Energizer bunny coming off the edge. He's a handful for blockers, and when he's revved up, you talk about the Indianapolis Colts where Gus Bradley likes to make it simple for the players so they can just go and hunt. Latu is a perfect fit because remember, he had a lot of success with Yannick Ngakoue in Jacksonville when he was an edge rusher. Latu has even better skills.
Good point there. 23.5 sacks the last 2 years after he was medically retired
2 years of football
at Washington.
2 years of football, 23.5 sacks. And talking to him, it's amazing because he just tells you he doesn't go in with a plan. He just reacts off what the offensive tackle's feet are showing him and their weight distribution shows him. That's advanced level rush right there.
With the 52nd pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Indianapolis Colts select Adonai Mitchell, wide receiver, Texas. Let's do it.
Here's my best available player. He was all the way up there at 27 for me. And this is a receiver. We say it every year at the Combine, Rich. Our booth is right next to the Indianapolis Colts booth.
That's correct.
And it does feel like Chris Ballard pays more attention than others because all he does is collect guys that put on a show at the Combine. You talk about athleticism and explosiveness, 4.34 at 205 pounds with a 39.5-inch vertical and 11.4 broad jump. Transferred from Georgia, where you saw him make some plays as a youngster in big moments, in big games. Here he is against Michigan in a playoff game. Here he is in an SEC championship game against Alabama as a young player on an ultra-stacked Georgia team. He goes to Texas. We've mentioned that defensive backfield for Alabama struggled against these two Texas wide receivers. He can run little guy routes as a big receiver. This one he hung in the air, CD, for about 5 seconds, it felt like, in that semifinal game against Washington. Again, explosive. Look at the guys on that list.
Look at that. I mean, Anthony Richardson coming back healthy, knock on wood there. Jonathan Taylor running downhill at you. Michael Pittman Jr.'s got a new contract. I mean, Josh Downs had a nice breakout season last year. Adonai Mitchell. They have Alec Pierce as well. That's the Indianapolis Colts offense taking the field in the AFC South. Ian?
Rich, if you wonder how such a talented player falls all the way to where he did, my understanding is it was kind of a rough process for A.D. Mitchell. Interviews were not great, a little disinterested, was not always responsive. I know his visits didn't go as well as people wanted. I'm not sure how big the red flags are here, but teams didn't get a great feel for him, which lets you know why he slid.
For the Indianapolis Colts, it's the easy pick presented by Bud Light. A.D. Mitchell here, the highest rated player remaining on your board. Lance Zierlein, your 31st overall player. So if you look at this, the plus 21 value.
Well, it's peace in my house finally. My son is a Colts fan. My wife went to University of Texas.
Oh,
Mitchell
we're bringing
is
it
a
all
Colt.
together.
It all comes together after
baby.
a very stressful first night when they drafted a pass rusher that my son doesn't know. We get the wide receiver he does. Adonai Mitchell has potentially even more. I think he has the ability to become the most talented wide receiver to come out of Texas in this draft, and that includes, obviously, Xavier Worthy. He's just not there yet. But when you start to piece together Bucky, you can't bake the cake. You got to have all the ingredients, but sometimes you don't have them all mixed up the way you want to. But when it comes to ball skills in the air, when it comes to speed of 4.340, size, he's improving. You saw the Georgia tape, and then you go watch the Texas tape. It's noticeably better from year to year. I think that, he drops, one could be there's questions about how he is, like where he is as a wide receiver now.
Sure.
Down on the field, when you're watching him run the routes, it wasn't great at the Combine. But
it was an adventure, to say the least.
It was an adventure, but I'll tell you what, turn this Alabama game on, and it's bananas. He is so good against Alabama, and he's snapping routes off. I think it's in there. You just have to get it out all the time. Sometimes when you fall in a draft a little bit, it's a great motivator, too, to go out and get the things done that people doubted you on. And this is a great value pick for Chris Ballard and the Colts, who really need somebody who can stretch the field.
Well, and they've gone day 2 wide receivers now a lot. Michael Pittman was second rounder. Alec Pierce from Cincinnati. Josh Downs most recently from UNC. And now A.D. Mitchell, Buck.
Okay, this continues the theme with the Indianapolis Colts. The Indianapolis Colts have made a concerted effort to draft all the athletic freaks. The last 2 to 3 years, they've drafted all the guys that are great testers or whatever, and they wanted to put the onus on the coaches to take these great athletes and to turn them into great players. Reggie Wayne, our old former colleague here, looks soon to be a Hall of Fame wide receiver. Now we have an opportunity to take a guy who has all of the physical tools to be a high-end wide receiver. Now can he teach them how to play the game and become a craftsman at the spot? Because if it works, it's going to pop.
The Arizona Cardinals have traded the 79th pick to the Indianapolis Colts. With the 79th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Indianapolis Colts select Matt Goncalves, tackle, Pittsburgh.
This was an interesting day today with all these tackles because we've seen some of the project guys, the upside, the long-term players go ahead of guys like this who I feel like's more ready to play. He's got quick feet. He can uproot defenders. The balance was just the only knock on him. A little bit inconsistent when it comes to that balance. But of a bunch of these tackles we've seen come off the board today, I think he's more ready to get on the field, CD, and be able to help his team.
And really, I thought that Kansas City might want to consider him as well. I remember they went Sua Matea, which makes sense for him. But as you talk about a guy who has that type of experience, able to get out there and go right now. But, obviously everybody has their different terms and what they want to do in using him. But I think this is really nice for Indianapolis. Joel, they've been trying to solve that left tackle spot ever since Anthony Costanzo retired. Never went to a Pro Bowl, never made All-Pro, but he answered the bell all the time for 10-plus years.
Easier projection because they were in a more pro-style, prototypical style offense at Pitt. You know, he wasn't in the RPO. It's sometimes hard to rate these offensive tackles, guys, as you know, when they're constantly in this middle zone of an RPO every single play in college football.
But you know what else he's going to have to do? Get used to your quarterback being in different spots multiple times on the same play with Anthony Richardson back there now.
With the 170th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Indianapolis Colts select Tanor Bortolini, guard, Wisconsin.
If that was coming from Italy, that would have been the best synergy in the history of the NFL Draft. But Tanor Bortolini, big-time athlete. You think about what he did at the Combine. He broke the three-cone record, which was held by Jason Kelce. Jason Kelce, once upon a time, had an offensive coordinator named Shane Steichen, who just so happens to now be the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts.
Look at you connecting dots, man.
Finding somebody that's athletic inside to be able to get up to the second level, get out on screens with that athletic quarterback they have there as well in Anthony Richardson, CD. That's going to be a fun fit.
And could be one of those Cam Jurgens picks like Philadelphia where you come in and play guard for a while you see what happens with Ryan Kelly who's playing center, but they need to shore up the interior with Quentin Nelson, the mauler, on the opposite side.
With the 142nd pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Indianapolis Colts select Anthony Gould, wide receiver, Oregon State.
Anthony Gould is one of my, you develop favorites at positions. One of my favorite wide receivers in this draft is Anthony Gould. I had him go in the 4th or 5th round is where I projected him to go, but my grade is more of a 3rd round grade on him. He is, for being an undersized player, he really plays like he's 6 foot. He plays like he's 6 foot, 195 pounds. He is fearless out in space. He has good separation, good speed. As you can see here, he's also a punt returner. The Colts drafted Josh Downs, so you already have somebody in Josh Downs who plays a similar position as Anthony Gould, but because Gould has great speed, you could get away from time to times with smaller wide receivers. And what's interesting is, while you just added AD Mitchell, right, in the 2nd round, but I could see a scenario where Gould has maybe a higher amount of catches than AD Mitchell does in his rookie season, because I think Mitchell will be brought along slower, where Gould is much more polished right now coming into the league.
With the 115th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Indianapolis Colts select Jaylon Carlies, linebacker, Missouri. Go Colts!
Jaylin Carlies is a long, big safety.
Can't teach long.
Can't teach length. 6'2" and 3/4", 227. That frame looks like he's going to be a linebacker, because that's what the Colts are going to do. They're going to turn him into a linebacker. So any plays you see here down the field, that's cooling off. Somebody's running a wheel route on the next level, but he is going to be doing a lot more of that, playing around the line of scrimmage, getting downhill, using the length to expand the tackle net so he can reach out and get you out in space, which is what he does. The Colts took E.J. Speed, who was a wide receiver in college. They turned him into a linebacker, and he's a good one. This is another E.J. Speed pick. They're basically taking a safety in college with length and with speed, and who is a really good tester, and they're going to turn him into a linebacker as well. And I know Chris Ballard and the Colts have to be very excited to land Carlies. They're landing a lot of the guys that they really coveted on their board, and Carlies is one of them.
Missouri coming up big again in this one.
Yeah.
It's also interesting to see these teams who I believe
I said West Virginia, Missouri. Yeah, you're right.
Oh, whatever. I did. So ultimately what I'm looking at here is maybe this is the counterpunch to some of the punches we've been seeing last season. Remember we saw a lot of ISO and power, right? It came back in vogue last year. Well, now if you have these safeties that have these big old bodies like a linebacker, you make another EJ Speed, you're in a situation where now you have not only, the opportunity to stop the run, but you can leverage him in certain packages as a defensive back too. So, I think if we played a drinking game where you had to take a shot every time someone in the draft said versatility, everyone would be like unable to even function by now. But he really is a quite versatile player. And again, Missouri coming up big.
With the 164th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Indianapolis Colts select Jaylin Simpson, defensive back, Auburn.
So I've got a 4th-round grade on Jaylin Simpson. You get him here late in the 5th. He is actually a really good football player. The problem I have here is he's 6 foot, 179 pounds. So he's a safety. I mean, that is awfully small for a safety. Now, you see the ball skills here. He's very good at playing the football. He's long. He's got speed and athleticism and ball skills. He's got some bump and run coverage that he can do, so he can play some corner. I really question, I wonder if Chris Ballard and the defensive coaches are looking at Jaylin Simpson as a cornerback, because at 179 pounds, he's got 32 3/8 arm lengths. That's really, really long for a cornerback. That's really, really good. And I'm looking at the athletic testing, a 4.45 40, 39.5-inch vertical, 11.1 broad jump. These are elite testing numbers. But what Indianapolis is willing to do is take a position at one player and move him to another one. Jaylin Simpson has experience playing man-to-man coverage there in the slot. I wouldn't be shocked if you hear the Colts talk about taking Jaylin Simpson and making him a full-time cornerback. And not just like an inside cornerback, an outside cornerback. I know he played safety at Auburn, but he's not really big enough to handle the rigors of supporting the run as a safety. So I think maybe this is going to be a positional shift out to cornerback.
With the 201st pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Indianapolis Colts select Micah Abraham, defensive back, Marshall.
Big pro day tester for Micah Abraham. That's how he came onto the scene for me when I was taking a look at him. I ended up giving him a 6th-round grade. I think he's got a chance to become an NFL backup. He's a little small on the small side. He's 5'9", 185. He's a pure ball-hawking nickel cornerback. But, man, he's got rare ball production, rare instincts. 55 passes defending, including 12 interceptions. Bucky, those are really, really impressive numbers. 19 passes defense this year, but 12 picks, 55 passes defense. When you have that kind of ball production, and that's something that I know that some teams really covet. They want to see ball production. You can have all the traits, but can you go get the ball?
Well, in Gus Bradley's scheme in particular, you want to see ball production because it's a see ball, get ball defense. It's one that really relies on the DBs to watch the quarterback's eyes and to really make aggressive plays on that. When you also think about the Indianapolis Colts, they're one of the few teams that may not be as stringent when it comes to the height, weight, measurement, and dimensions for some of the skill players. So coming in under 5'10" won't be an issue. He'll slide in the slot, he'll hold his own in the slot, and he'll have an opportunity to carve out a nice role for himself.
With the 235th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Indianapolis Colts select Jonah, Laulu, defense tackle, Oklahoma.